Hi everybody and welcome to another Kalicube Tuesdays. I'm Jason Barnard, the brand SERP guy, and today I'm here with Sara Moccand-Sayegh, which I hope I got right.
Yes, thank you so much.
Brilliant. Today we're going to be talking about content creation for all engines, and when we say all engines, we mean search engines, answer engines, and assistive engines, and Sarah's going to tell us all about that in a moment. But before that, the song. A quick hello and we're good to go. Welcome to the show, Sara Moccand-Sayegh.
Yes, I was waiting for that one.
Brilliant. Welcome. And the reason you're on, other than the fact that you're an absolutely brilliant SEO, but you're talking not about technical SEO, which is your speciality, but about content creation for all engines and the business marketing loop, which I find absolutely delightful, which is called the Pedowitz Group's customer journey model, is because we've been working on a white paper on that, and it's been absolutely delightful. And I'm stunned by what we've managed to produce, and your input has been hugely amazing.
I'm also very happy of what we are going to produce or show to everybody. Like, it was nice. It was a bit outside of my comfort zone, but it was super cool, and I really enjoyed doing it.
Isn't that the fun thing when it's outside your comfort zone and you find something new and it expands your horizons? I'm really excited about that. But before we get into all of that, content creation for all engines, and the aim here as well is to point out to content creators that generative AI in search is an opportunity for us and not a threat. Now, what we did here is look in Kalicube Pro at your description of your entity, yourself. And we can see here that Google has found, I think it's 12 mentions of you, including Sara Moccand-Sayegh. SEO specialist refers to you as well. Co-host refers to you. And that's it, but that's pretty good. So it understands that when we say SEO specialist, it refers to you. That's a semantic triple. Sara Moccand-Sayegh is a SEO specialist. And also Sara is a co-host. And I found that incredibly interesting from a perspective of it understands as well. Sara and Sara Moccand-Sayegh are the same thing. It's getting pretty smart. And from that, you can see the blue link down there where Kalicube Pro has found the KGM ID for your entity. And when we go on to Google using that link that we see at the bottom, we see that there is no knowledge panel. And that happens a lot. And I think the important thing is you used to have a knowledge panel. You feel like you've lost it, but Google still has a reference to you. So there is the possibility that it's only temporary. And we need to see how that goes over the next few weeks to see if it's temporary or if we need to build a new one. And Google will let us know, because if we need to build a new one, it will generate a new KGM ID. Or if it doesn't duplicate or if it doesn't create a new one, we can keep this one. And we need to see how that goes. And it's Google who decides, not us. This happens from time to time. It isn't as common as people think, where the KGM ID changes. And if you're interested in this geeky stuff, please do join the Kalicube Knowledge Panel and Brand SERP support group. Search it on Google, join us, talk about geeky stuff like that. If you would like to join us, please do. So, Sara, are you really disappointed about your knowledge panel?
Yeah, obviously I am, no? Because I was so excited the moment that I got it. So I was like, I went to my husband, I said, check, yeah. It was looking like it was very important. And then they removed it to me. So I was like, okay. It was a big moment of glory. And then it was not for long, my moment of glory. But yeah, so I was a bit disappointed.
Sure, yeah, but I think the really important thing to remember is it's only temporary. Whatever happens, it's only temporary, because either it comes back because right now there's a lot of volatility and it might have disappeared temporarily because there's volatility, generally speaking, in the knowledge graph. But even if it is more permanent, we can build it back. It's not a question of if we can do it, it's how long it takes us, and Nell's going to help you with that in the coming weeks. Oh no, it's Christopher who's going to be helping you with that in the coming weeks.
I heard about it. Then I will have Christopher helping me.
Brilliant. So on to content creation for all engines. Can we start with, what do you mean by all engines? I've explained it very briefly. Can you give me an explanation of where we were, where we are, and where we're going?
Yes. So when we started working, there was a little bit the question of, okay, now we have all this chatbot, what's happening? So we started analyzing, trying to figure out, okay, what's happening with the chatbot? who is part of the chatbot and who is not part of the chatbot, because at the end of the day, the big question then probably a client will ask you if they start playing with the chatbot is why I'm not in the chatbot,
Yes.
why I'm not there. So so based on that, as you know, we start a little bit discussing, playing, try to figure out, okay, so we are passing from 10 links to like 2-3 links, and you want to be part of these 2-3 links. And that is start like the beginning. Then we analyze the Kalicube process. Then obviously you know it better than I do. And then we were like, okay, so clients then apply the Kalicube process. They are in the chatbot. Their answer, their brand is in the chatbot. And what it was interesting, it was the fact that the suggested questions were connected. So that was like a huge thing. I can see Kalicube process there.
Right. And for those listening, sorry, I'll just surprise Sarah with this because I got access to search generative experience on Google just this morning. First thing I did was type in the Kalicube process. And when you do it, as you can see here for people watching the video, it generates directly the description of the Kalicube process with follow-up questions, Kalicube Academy and knowledge panel with 3 little knowledge panel cards there, all of which is driven by handwritten content, service pages and FAQs. And that means to be in the chatbot, to be part of this generative AI search experience, you have to create great content. So at the end of the day, nothing's changed.
I don't know if nothing changed, but for sure, the fact that you have to have great content, and especially content that is done for your audience, is extremely important. And then this, it was probably our starting point. It was a little bit to check this and then say, okay, so now if we want people to be in this chatbot, our client to be one of the famous 2 links, so what should we do? I think then that it was like how we started. And
could you explain, I mean, this was your idea as well, or your distinction is, if I remember rightly, you said search is 10 choices, chat and generative AI is 3 or 4 choices, and assistive engines is 1 choice. Is that about the size of it?
Yes, exactly. That it was a little bit the discussion that we had, because at the end we have almost that I think you say 4 because sometimes there are some exceptions, but most of the time is always 2, 3. Right. Maybe. I mean, maybe you tested more than me and you did find tons of 4, but for me,
no,
normally
it's just because I happen to have seen 4 choices, so I just said what I just saw, which is what we
okay, that it is. You were biased by one. Okay, I understand. But there is, sometimes there is, but that is probably more of an exception. And the idea, it was really what we noticed by working together. It was like, you should be an entity, like your brand should be an entity. Right. Then you really should work on the understanding of who you are, what you do, the related product, and that is a huge advantage. But again, all this, you need somebody that produce this content. You need somebody that understand your brand. You need somebody that understand your products. You need somebody that understand your target and then is able really to create an appropriate content. So based on this and based on the Kalicube process, mainly there are 3 steps.
Yep.
Maybe you want to say the 3 steps because
no. I love hearing. I would love to hear somebody else say it. The 3 pillars of the Kalicube process.
Okay, so I will say it. So the first one is the understanding. Am I saying it correct? Credibility. Yes. Okay. So understanding, then I have the credibility part, and then is the delivery.
Deliverability.
You have to change that word. It makes it too complicated for me. Delivery part. So in this, it was like the first part is really working on your own page, I would say, and on your entity. The second part, for me, is extremely interesting as an SEO because you have to work on your own page, because you have to still produce content that is really understandable, and then it is like, then give credibility. I remember then we discussed it, for example, adding numbers give credibility. Being in business since 15 years, then you are specialized in something, give credibility. Having your clients writing you how fantastic you are, credibility. But then there was still one problem on that. You are saying that.
Yes.
So it's on your website, you are saying that. Now, if I remember well, correct me, you had this fantastic case where there was a client that was receiving a rating, and it was on his website.
Yes.
Which is fantastic, but they're on his website. And when you connect it to an external source of rating, the credibility part exploded.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is a very good example. It's Merci Facteur, who we worked with, and they've now got sustained growth. And Robin Bourdet, who's the person I was working with, the boss of the company, is saying he's now incredibly serene and about the future, and his profits are going up and up because we've solved his problem. And part of that, I'd forgotten this aspect of it. He had collected, I think it was 30,000 client reviews on his own website. And all we had to do was get him a Trustpilot account. He's got 300 or 400, and that's validated what he had of the 31,000. He thought, I'm going to have to throw my 31,000 away, but he didn't. All we had to do was find another source, trusted external source, that confirms that those 31,000 were not just made up.
So maybe there was like an important point. It's not about the backlinks. It was not about the backlinks. It was really about like the credibility part. From another credible source, people are writing, they could like find the confirmation of what you're saying. So that I think is something fantastic.
That corroboration, we keep coming back to corroboration. It goes for understanding. You can say what you want, who I am, what I do, and who I serve. On your own website, you need third-party corroboration. So from now on, part of a content creator's job is to say the things clearly and correctly to Google, so it understands that you're credible, and it can deliver that content to the subset of its users who are your audience, but also make sure the corroboration around the web says the same thing.
Exactly. So, and this brings us to the third part, which is the deliverability part.
Brilliant.
And that is where we started. So the logic, it was to start to think, okay, so how somebody producing content can still produce excellent content and help at the same time the engines, like all engines. Or if you want the algorithm behind, choose it the way then you want to express it. But like the goal is then at the end you have the result then you want. So we started by thinking a bit, and then by brainstorming, we needed to start with a customer decision journey, because that is what makes the most sense. And then we find this fantastic loop from what it was the name? Pedowitz group?
Pedowitz group, yeah.
Pedowitz
you
group.
Found it. For me, it's Sarah's loop, but you do keep saying it's the Pedowitz group's loop.
But you know what? It's easier to call it Sarah's loop because it's really difficult to remember the name. But it was an excellent thing because it was a logical loop. So the problem, all the model were stopping the moment then somebody buys. I buy, I stop, which was not making sense because there is like all another word that happens when somebody have bought. So if I bought something, I still need like to get on board. I still need to use this product and know how to use it. I evaluate if I get value from this product. So there is like an entire world that happens at the moment that the product gets bought. But then if we really check on using search engine, it's true, then most people will hire content team for the moment then you are really doing your research. So as a user, I will really start searching on search engine at the moment then I am considering a product. So if we're speaking about Kalicube at the moment, then or something to create a knowledge panel, let's say, I will start to search on Google to try to figure out, okay, that is like the moment that I start to search is when I am aware of a problem. Yes, the loop. Okay, so we can see it there. Then it's really, once there is this unaware part. Okay, so let's explain the loop quickly. So in the unaware part, I do not know that I have a problem. I am still happy because I don't know that I have a problem. So after that, I get in the aware part. Obviously, you will always, in each step, you will find the marketers that will help you to push to the next step. And in this aware part, okay, for example, my example about the knowledge panel, you came out with my knowledge panel. I probably never thought how much I wanted the knowledge panel till I lost the knowledge panel. So now I want the knowledge panel, and let's say I start to search online to try to figure out, okay, who can help me with this? Okay, I start to search, and this is in the consideration phase. So I will probably find Kalicube as tool that supports me to get back my knowledge panel. And to the best of my knowledge, for knowledge panel, they are not other tools, but let it do the hypothesis, then there is somebody else. So, okay, so I will have like my list of tools in the consideration phase. And then when I go to my evaluation phase, I will have like the list that I have, and I shortlist my list. So probably at the end, I will have Kalicube and somebody else. And then I will pass to the last phase of this first part of the loop, which is taking my decision. Okay, I will buy Kalicube.
Yeah, and I was thinking in funnels, and that was our initial discussion. And what we've just done there is the first half of the loop, which is where I would have stopped with my funnel. Now, content creation is principally aimed at, if I remember rightly, consideration, evaluation, and decision.
Decision, exactly. So I don't know. I think that probably should be all over, because you have to produce content all over. But the truth is that when I speak to, for example, freelance then get hired, they're often hired to produce content for the consideration, evaluation, and decision phase. It's very rare that I really hire for all the funnel. Okay, so I am a content creator, and then I will work on these 3 steps. So now the big question, then a content creator will have like tons of questions for each phase, then they are, and they will make questions to make sure then they produce the most appropriate content as possible, and they understand perfectly the user. But this is their power. If they don't ask themselves questions, they will not be able to produce correct content, which needs to be produced to feed the machine, so then the machine can give us as an output what we are looking for. So okay, let's take a stupid example. If I say to you, Jason, running shoes, what do you think?
Nike.
We go. So I'm pretty sure then in some way our brain have to work exactly as a machine. So I'm sure then there is so much accurate and content that was feel about like Nike running shoes, then now it's obvious. I mean, for me, when I go to run, and then if I have to buy a pair of shoes, I don't even think I buy Nike, no? Because the running shoes is Nike.
The incredible irony is I wear Adidas all the time. But as soon as you said running shoes, I said Nike and not Adidas. And I can see my Adidas running shoes just there.
And I'm sure that if we go on an answer engine and we ask which running shoes should I buy, they will give you a list because they're obliged. They will not give you just Nike, but for sure Nike is inside. So,
Right.
and how this is possible? But Nike is an entity, we know it, but for sure a content team thinking about the entire loop and the entire process, then focus mainly on what we are looking for as a user. For sure, I've produced content about Nike running shoes, appropriate content, well done content. So it's really an important. They are like the heart. I mean, the process is possible because they are producing appropriate content and answering questions.
Yeah, I mean, and kind of, we've talked about Nike, and you think, well, it's because they're famous, so I have no hope. But in fact, that doesn't seem to be the case, in the sense that if you can educate the machines about who you are, what you're doing, which audience you serve, the machines, the algorithms, the generative AI search engines or assistive engines can recommend you. And from a content perspective, it just struck me when you were talking that if you haven't said it, the machines can't possibly know it.
Exactly. This is exactly the point, is the base. If you don't say it, the machine don't know it. So Nike, for example, have written all over. They produce running shoes, and they're great in doing that. So somehow, I'm sure that for any brand, you need to say what you do, and you need to say it in the correct way, and you need to say it in the way that you answer your audience. So that is really the superpower of content people, or content creator, and they have to really think through it. And I think then they have to think also in which format should I deliver that, and that is also a discussion that we had. It's not just about what should I deliver, what should I write, which question people ask, but it's really also about, okay, how they consume my content. That for sure help.
And if a content creator, let's talk about copywriters, thinks, well, AI is going to replace me, people are going to use ChatGPT, my boss is going to just use ChatGPT to write all the articles, and I'm going to be made redundant. Do they have any hope?
So I was writing an article the other day. I never write articles for the company blog, but one of my teammates said Sara, it's time then you do your part of the job and write something. And then I was like, okay, let's do it. And then I started writing, but that was a case study. Okay. And then I started thinking, and I obviously, as probably, I wouldn't say lazy, but I mean, if I can have a support in writing, I'm very happy about it. So I even did my brief, if you want, to the chatbot. But what they gave me didn't reflect at all what I was looking for. And I think then the problem was maybe the way that I wrote, okay. But the main problem was they didn't know my case. They didn't know my audience, my case. And so they were taking from all over the web other sources, but that was not answering what I wanted. I wanted them to create a content that I want about something that I knew.
Yeah.
So that I think that is irreplaceable.
Which comes back to Matt Arts. We were talking, he's an anthropologist, and we were talking a few weeks ago, and he talks about known knowns, known unknowns, unknown knowns, and unknown unknowns. And until you have stated the information about your case study or about your company or about your products, for these machines, everything about you is an unknown unknown. It doesn't know that it doesn't know it. And it's only once you've produced the content that it could possibly know it. So ChatGPT doesn't replace, but it does help.
It helps. For me, it's obvious that it helps. Clearly, writing in English is not my strength, and you know it. But but it can help me. Like I can ask, please help me in the grammar. So, but again, the concept will still be my concept. And this, I think, then is something that maybe people have a bit of difficulty in understanding. It supports, and it's great that it supports, to be honest, because I'm sure that even a content writer, I mean, when you can have somebody that supports you, they're happy. But it takes sources on the web. It do not produce the case study, which is probably one of the things more important you will have on your website. It can create like your product. All these kind of things help the understanding of the machine. So the machine need the input data and probably the information. The information that come from your website, there will be million of data. But again,
and I mean, that's absolutely brilliant. And I think it reassures a lot of us that we're not just going to get replaced by these machines. And I think one point you talked about consideration, evaluation, and decision, which are the three main focuses often of content creators. But we've got 10 steps in our loop. Content creators should be involved in all of them.
Yes. So I absolutely agree. So there was a bit of a discussion, I don't know if you remember, between us, but then in the second part of the loop, mostly will be branded, no? Because we have like the onboarding part. So for example, if I do not know something, or I will contact you directly, or I will probably check online on your website, but I will probably write Kalicube, blah, 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 my question then I have. So, but this, it means then I need an answer to that. I need an answer. I need you to give me an answer. So a content creator need to give me an answer. And again, you can give me an answer by writing the answer in the frequent asked question. You could give me maybe a video, because I like video, less effort. You can choose what is the most appropriate way to producing me this answer. Then again, I have the adoption phase. Okay, you onboard me, fantastic. But now I have the adoption phase. And this phase could be the moment where I feel you can lose somebody. To me, that happened, I mean, several times. You buy something, you buy a tool, you buy whatever you want, and then you don't know how to use it. You don't use it at your best. Like, and it beats the point, because then you have this feeling, okay, I spend that amount of money and I'm not using it. But then what is the problem? Why you're not using it? Somebody needs to explain me why I'm not using it. Like, I'm not using it in the correct way. It has a great potential. Maybe, somebody can follow up with me and then give me, like, the content creator can give me a list of, not the content creator, or somebody in connection with me can give me a list of things that the content creator generate, like, on the website, and could explain me how can I really use it, the tool, to my, I am speaking about the tool because we started with Kalicube, at my full potential. So yes, so again, I think then they should be involved in every step. Maybe value realization, not so much, because like it's just me. Then I try to figure out, okay, am I getting value from this? But if they didn't help me in the onboarding and adoption phase, then my conclusion will be no. And then I will lose on the loyalty. Come to me, ask me, hey, Sara, please, could you write something on our website about how great we are? Why would I do that? And like that phase, for example, then you come to me, it's important for you, because if we go back to the Kalicube process, then I am doing the second phase of the Kalicube process, which
credibility,
which is the credibility, and I'm writing how great you are on your website, which is coming from me, which I'm a user, then I use your tool. So you are losing on much more for me than just losing the person. Then probably will not even say to the other friends, hey, use that tool because it's fantastic.
Brilliant. Brilliant, absolutely. And we've actually gone around the whole loop, and looking at that and listening to you talking makes me realize that at Kalicube, we actually don't have a lot of that content. We need to create that content. So we need to make sure that our content creators within our team, Leanne, Jean-Marie, Bernadette, and even Elisa and yourself and myself, create this content that creates the context and information for the unknown unknowns for Google and other machines, especially for the generative AI, because the generative AI is designed to help people round this loop, and I need to provide that information.
Exactly. And this is something that I think then probably people still don't get it, but the suggested questions.
Yes.
The suggested question. Let's speak about the suggested question. The suggested question are, we had a big discussion, me and you, about that. They're really pushing people down the loop.
Yeah.
So if you do not provide the correct if you do not provide the content, check that. Voila. You say Kalicube. What is the Kalicube process? What is Kalicube Pro? Kalicube Academy. So they are giving me some chances. I'm sure then if you go, what is the Kalicube process, probably will send me to something else, which will send me to something else, which will send me to your contact detail or something like this down the line.
Yeah, and what it's done is it said, okay, I've understood who Kalicube is. I understand they have the Kalicube process. What's the follow-up question is the Kalicube process. The user clicks on that button. For people listening, I'm doing this live. Then it talks about Knowledge Panel, Google Search Results Panel, Entity Home. Entity Home is a term that I invented.
Exactly.
And Google now understands it because through the content creation that we've done, we've educated it. So absolutely brilliant. And the point that these assistive engines or answer engines or generative AI in search, whatever you want to call it, is that they are bringing people down the funnel. And now with Sarah's loop, they're bringing people round and round the loop, which is absolutely delightful.
And I think then, like, the interesting part is why it's a loop, because in the reality, if you check it like this, you could think, okay, it stops. No, it doesn't stop, because a client then is like, then is used to you and think then you are great, and at the point then we'll go to write another blog post how great you are, will come back to you and will give the information to somebody else saying how great you are. So you will have a new client coming because because of the recommendation, and at the same time your client will continue the loop. So we'll get back to you if you have another product or something then is interested. It will continue buying from you. It will not start, for sure it will not start from the our phase. I mean, it will go directly, you will be directly in the evaluation phase. You will not start from the beginning as before. So
right, which is absolutely brilliant, because that loop idea is something that's blown my mind, and it's only been a month and all of a sudden I'm a complete convert. From advocacy, you go back to aware because you rebuy, or you buy a different product, or you resubscribe, and the whole process starts again because people can jump off board even if they were already a client. And additionally, they will explain to their friends, their colleagues, and recommend you and push those people into the aware stage as well. So it truly is a loop. And for me, it brings SEO, digital marketing, content creation into business. And that's what we're all here for at the end of the day, is business. Now, can you help me, Sarah, with the question, the key question of the whole episode is, how does content creation for all engines help with branded search?
Jason, at this point, I would say it helps by educating the engines. So the main goal is really to educate them, to make sure that your content is in an answer engine, assistive engine, or a search engine.
Absolutely brilliant. That was the shortest, most succinct, but most helpful answer we've had in many, many months. Thank you so much, Sarah. That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you, everyone, for watching. That was perfect. I really, really love this concept, and I do much appreciate you introducing me to it. And now I'm going to introduce Kevin Moehlenkamp, branding essential ingredient, not just decoration. He was highly recommended for the show by Scott Terman. He's going to be brilliant. I've spoken to him once and he's absolutely super interesting, super smart, and this is going to be great. Could you possibly pass the baton and say his name correctly?
That I can guarantee, but I will try. So first of all, I can see the connection between Kevin Moehlenkamp and yourself, because I know that he has a brand agency. So I think then together that episode will be great, because I think then the SERP guy and a guy that have a brand agency can just create something extraordinary. So I pass the baton to him.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you, everybody. You get the outro song. A quick goodbye to end the show. Thank you, Sarah. Bye-bye.
Ciao, Jason. Ciao.
Kalicube. It's all about your brand.